10 years ago, Michael vanished during a family vacation at Lakeview Falls, leaving behind his wife, 2 young children, and a mystery that consumed their lives. The initial search found nothing, no body, no evidence of foul play, not even a single witness who saw him leave. For a decade, his wife Sarah kept searching, even as their finances crumbled and friends urged her to move on. But everything changed when, on the anniversary of his disappearance, she noticed something in an old photograph that changed everything she knew about him. Before we dive in, let us know where you're watching from today. Sarah sat alone in her small apartment, surrounded by photo albums spread across the coffee table. Outside, rain tapped against the windows, matching her mood on this painful anniversary. 10 years without answers. 10 years of raising Emma and Jason alone. 10 years of struggling to keep them fed and housed after Michael's disappearance drained their savings and left them drowning in unexpected debt. Jason, now 22, had moved out last year, determined to make his own way. Emma, 19 and fiercely protective of her mother, still lived at home while attending community college. Neither child spoke much about their father anymore. They'd learned it was easier that way. Sarah flipped through the vacation album for the 100th time, torturing herself with images of their last happy moments. There was Michael, tall and smiling, his arm around 12-year-old Jason at the lookout point. There was 9-year-old Emma feeding ducks by the lake, her father laughing behind her. And there was the final photo taken at Lakeview Falls, just 20 minutes before he vanished. The family posed together, the magnificent waterfall framing them against the summer sky. Sarah squinted at this last photo, something catching her attention that she'd never noticed before. In the background, partially hidden by foliage near the hiking trail, was a man watching them. His face was mostly obscured, but there was something familiar in his stance. And beside him, the blurry outline of what appeared to be a woman. Her heart raced as she grabbed her reading glasses and examined the photo more closely. How had she missed this for 10 years? The man was definitely watching their family, not the waterfall. And something about him. The front door opened, startling her. "Mum, you okay?" Emma stood in the doorway, soaked from the rain, her dark hair, so like her father's, plastered to her face. Sarah quickly slipped the photo into her pocket. "Just looking at old pictures," she said, forcing a smile. "How was class?" Emma shrugged, dropping her backpack by the door. "Professor cancelled." Again. She hesitated. "I know what day it is, Mum. You don't have to pretend." Sarah nodded, throat tight. "I think I found something," she whispered. "In one of the photos?" Before she could elaborate, her phone rang. It was Tom Russell, Michael's oldest friend, and the one person who'd never abandoned them. Tom had appeared like clockwork throughout the years, always when things were most desperate. The time their car broke down and they couldn't afford repairs. When Jason needed money for college application fees. When they faced eviction 3 years ago. Each time he'd arrived with just enough cash to solve the crisis, claiming he'd had a good month at work or won a small lottery prize. Sarah had always suspected there was more to the story, but desperation had kept her from asking too many questions. "Tom," she answered, "I was just thinking about you." "Sarah?" His voice sounded strained. "I need to see you. All of you. It's important." 2 hours later, Sarah sat stunned in Tom's living room, the photo clutched in her trembling hand. Jason had driven over immediately after her call, his face tight with concern. Now the three of them stared at Tom, trying to process his confession. "Michael made me promise never to tell you," Tom said, pacing nervously. "He said it was the only way to keep you safe." "Safe from what?" Jason demanded, his voice cracking. "From knowing our father abandoned us?" Tom shook his head. "From the people he owed money to. Dangerous people." He reached into a drawer and pulled out a yellowed newspaper clipping. "And from this." The headline hit Sarah like a physical blow. "Local entrepreneur makes fortune in Silicon Valley." The grainy photo showed Michael, older, thinner, but unmistakably him, shaking hands with a tech mogul. He's alive? Emma whispered. And rich?
While we lost our house? While Mom worked 2 jobs? Jason stood up, fists clenched.
It's not what you think, Tom said quickly. The money I brought you over the years, it came from Michael. Every time he'd call asking about you, sending what he could. Sarah felt dizzy. If he's been alive all this time, why didn't he come back? Tom looked at the floor. The debt wasn't just any debt. He borrowed from people connected to organized crime. When he couldn't pay, they threatened to hurt you all. Disappearing was his way of drawing them away from his family. Sarah pulled out the photo from her pocket. And her? Who is she? She pointed to the blurry woman in the background. Tom examined the photo, frowning. That's not a woman. That's Rico, one of the loan shark's enforcers. He must have been tracking Michael that day. Sarah felt sick. For years, she'd imagined Michael with another family, happy somewhere while they struggled. The reality was somehow both better and worse. So he became successful and still didn't come back? Emma asked, tears streaming down her face. The success was mostly smoke and mirrors, Tom explained. Yes, he started a company, but most of what he made went to paying off the debt. He lived in a studio apartment, worked 18-hour days. He was trying to earn enough to clear everything and come home. Where is he now? Sarah asked, not sure she wanted the answer.
Tom's face fell. That's why I called. He's in the hospital. It's bad, Sarah. Cancer. He wanted to wait until the debt was completely cleared, but time ran out. They're not sure how long he has.
The hospital corridor seemed endless as Sarah walked toward room 412, Emma and Jason trailing behind her. 10 years of imagining this moment, yet nothing had prepared her for the reality. What would she say to the man who'd left them to face the world alone? Michael lay propped up on pillows, staring out the window. The successful entrepreneur from the newspaper was nowhere to be seen. This man was gaunt, grey-haired, with deep lines etched into his face. Machines beeped steadily beside him. He turned as they entered, his eyes widening. Sarah, he whispered, voice raspy. She stopped at the foot of his bed, emotions warring within her. Anger, grief, relief, betrayal. You left us, she said simply. Michael nodded, tears filling his eyes. I thought I was protecting you. We needed you, Jason said from behind Sarah, his voice breaking. Not protection. Michael looked at his son, then his daughter, drinking in the sight of them. You were children then. Now look at you.
Children who grew up without a father, Emma said quietly.
Michael closed his eyes briefly. I made a terrible mistake. I borrowed money from the wrong people for an investment that was supposed to solve everything. When it failed, they threatened you all. I thought if I disappeared, they'd follow me and leave you alone.
You could have told me, Sarah said. We could have faced it together. I was ashamed and terrified. Michael's hands trembled on the thin blanket. By the time I realized my mistake, years had passed. I thought you'd all hate me. Maybe you do.
The money Tom brought us? Sarah asked. Everything I could spare. But it was never enough, was it? Michael looked around the sterile hospital room. I finally paid off the last of the debt 3 months ago. I was coming to find you when the diagnosis came. Silence fell between them, 10 years of absence too vast to bridge in a moment. The doctors say, Michael began, then stopped. They've given me options. Treatment might buy some time. Sarah moved closer, studying the familiar stranger who was her husband. And if it works... I don't expect forgiveness, Michael said softly, but I'd like the chance to try to earn it. To everyone's surprise, the treatment worked better than expected. Michael's cancer responded, giving him precious months that turned into a year. It wasn't easy. There were arguments, tears, counseling sessions where decades of hurt poured out. There were also small moments of healing. Michael attending Emma's sophomore art exhibition, helping Jason navigate his first job after college, quiet evenings where he and Sarah slowly rediscovered each other. They moved into a modest house together, learning to be a family again. Michael worked remotely when he could, his tech skills still valuable despite his illness. Sarah watched him carefully, afraid of more secrets, more disappearances. But the only thing Michael hid now was the pain that sometimes overwhelmed him. "I wasted so much time," he told Sarah one evening as they sat on the porch swing, "thinking I could solve everything alone." Sarah took his hand, feeling the bones beneath paper-thin skin. "You can't protect people by leaving them."
"The hardest lesson of my life," Michael agreed.
When the end came, it was peaceful. Michael surrounded by the family he'd lost and found again. There were still questions unanswered, wounds not fully healed. But there was also forgiveness, hard-won and imperfect. At the funeral, Tom placed an arm around Sarah's shoulders. "He spent 10 years trying to get back to you." Sarah nodded, watching Emma and Jason greet mourners. In the end, he did. Later, cleaning Michael's desk, Sarah found a journal filled with entries from his years away, birthdays he'd missed, milestones he'd imagined, plans for returning. On the final page, written in shaky handwriting, were the words, "The greatest danger wasn't what I feared. It was believing I could love them best by leaving." If this story touched you, please remember to like and subscribe. Your support helps us share more remarkable journeys of loss, redemption, and the complicated ways we try to protect those we love. Thank you for being part of our community.